What is going on YouTube? Scotty here with another video. And today we're going to talk about wheels. And a little bit about tires too, but mainly about wheels. So if you're looking to buy a new set of wheels for your Hellcat, or your RT, or really any car, this video is for you. So stick around. Okay, so the reason I'm making this video is because I just spent several weeks trying to buy custom wheels for my Hellcat. And it was a lot harder than I thought. I had a few different wheels shipped to verify fitment. They didn't fit. I had to send them back. And it was just a very tedious project because every time I found a wheel I liked, there was some issue where it wouldn't fit on my Hellcat. So I'm going to cover a couple of the main things that you got to consider when you're getting wheels. So now if you're looking to get new wheels and you just want to get a different set of factory OEM wheels, then you're going to be fine. You know, there's several different kinds of Hellcat wheels. So right here, these for instance are aftermarket Hellcat replica wheels. These are staggered, where it's 9.5 in the front and 10.5 in the back. But I didn't have to worry about any offset issues when I got this or anything because it was manufactured and sold as an OEM replica wheel. But if you want something that nobody else is going to have, then... So first of all, there's three main dimensions of a wheel. One is the diameter. Hellcats come with 20-inch wheels, standard. Then you have the thickness of the wheel. And again, on a narrow body Hellcat, this is a 2016 Hellcat. This is a 9.5-inch wheel, wide. And it's the same both in the front and the back. It's not a staggered set. The next thing that's very important and can be very confusing is what's called the offset. The offset is where it mounts in relation to the center of the wheel. So a zero offset means that it's mounted right in the center of the wheel. Positive offset means that the wheel gets tucked in closer. Most factory wheels have positive offsets. A negative offset means that the wheel gets pushed out more. So on your wide body cars, they typically have negative offsets because they want to push the wheel out farther. If it's too much of a negative offset, you're going to rub on the fender well. If it's too much of a positive offset, it's going to rub on your control arms here or on the inside of the wheel well. Neither of which is good. So earlier I said that there were three different metrics, but actually there's another one, and that is the bolt pattern. These bolt patterns are different for different manufacturers. On Mopars, like the Challengers and the Chargers, they use a 5x115 bolt pattern. So now when you throw in the requirement of the bolt pattern, the width, the diameter, the offset, whether you can go staggered or not, whether or not they're going to fit the Brembos, this is why it's so difficult to find an aftermarket wheel that will work. You have to factor all these things in. And when I was looking at different wheel options, they had the style, the offset that I liked, but it didn't have the bolt pattern I needed. Or it had the bolt pattern, but I didn't like the style, or it didn't come wide enough or have the proper offset. So all these things have to be considered for you to find the wheel that you want. There's a couple things other that make the Hellcat especially difficult. One is these big Brembos. And not only Hellcats have these, a lot of cars have the big 6-piston Brembo brakes, but this caused a lot of problems because I would go on the site, I would put in my model year and trim level, and they indicated that would fit, but then when I followed up, or I had the wheel sent to me to test fit, it wouldn't clear the Brembo. And a lot of the sites you go to don't account for the 6-piston Brembos. So even though it might fit from an offset standpoint, the interior diameter of the wheel won't clear the Brembo. Now, I initially was looking for a staggered set of wheels where it's smaller in the front and wider in the back. But the problem is that the smaller wheel in the front makes it even harder to clear the Brembo. So after trying a couple different wheels, I gave up on the staggered set and wanted to get an even set. This is the wheel I ended up with. This is from a company called Capri. And this is a 10-inch wide wheel with a +15 offset. They initially told me this was not going to fit on the front because on a Hellcat, you're officially not supposed to have more than a 9.5-inch wide wheel in the fronts on a narrow body Hellcat. After, getting more experience with some of this stuff, I said, hell with it, send it to me. I want to see if it's going to fit. All right, so now, first of all, I've got the stock 9.5-inch rim on here. And I've got about a finger width of clearance between the inner edge of the wheel and this control arm. So this is with a +18.5-inch offset on the factory 9.5 by 20 wheel. So now I've got my aftermarket 20 by 10-inch wheel in the front. This has a +15 offset. So right off the bat, you look in here, I've got a 1/4 inch left space between the inner edge of the wheel and this control arm. So that's cutting it a little close. Now, what can you do to fix that? Well, that's where spacers come in. I got 2 different size spacers. That's a 5mm spacer, and this is a 3mm spacer. Because I'm only 3.5 millimeters off on this offset, I'm going to try the 3mm spacer first, because generally you want to go with as small as a spacer as possible. You want to go with a hub-centric spacer. That means that it's tight around the hub here. So that's what holds it in place, not the holes around the lug nuts. Okay, so I got the 3mm spacer in there, and now my finger test shows that it's pretty much exactly like stock. I've got just about the same amount of space there than I did with the factory wheel. There also, you can see that there's a good amount of clearance between the Brembo and the inner edge of the wheel, so that's good. Now, a couple other things you're going to have to consider with aftermarket wheels like this. One is that you're going to have to get different lugs. The factory lugs that look short and stubby like that are not going to work. You have to get the longer lugs like this, which means that they also have a different size socket. So, and that's mainly because these aftermarket wheels tend to have very deep slots. The other thing is that anytime you're getting aftermarket wheels like this, they do not come with the TPM sensors, which are your tire pressure monitors. So unless you want to take those off of your factory wheels, you're going to need to buy a set of TPM sensors. Now, the other big thing that you have to be concerned with if you try to go with a bigger wheel in the front is your tire size. All right, the factory tires for a Hellcat are 275/40 R20s. So what that rating means is how thick the tire wall is. First of all, this is a wider wheel, and it affords me the opportunity to go with a wider tire, but I do have to worry about the rubbing up there. So I don't want a tire that's going to be any thicker than this, and preferably I want one that maybe even is a little smaller. So what I ended up doing, I ended up going with a 285 R35 tire on here. All right, so it's wider to let me leverage more of the width of the wheel, but it's also not as tall of a sidewall. Now, the way that you can tell that is when you go to these when you go to the tire sites to look at these, one of the dimensions you want to look at is the total diameter of the tire, so I could make sure that I had clearance here. So I got a wider tire, but one that's a little bit shorter, so that I have better clearance on this outer edge. The two tires look like. This is a 275/40. This is a 285 R35. You can see it's definitely wider. And as far as how tall it is, just like the diameter, this one's about almost an inch taller. Okay, so here is a 9.5 by 20 wheel with a 275/40 tire. So you can see, you know, I got about 2 fingers there. All right, there it is. You got just about the same clearance right there. Like a 1/4 inch, which is good. And it definitely sticks out a little more, which I actually like. It makes it look tough. All right, so the moral of the story is that if you want to get non-OEM custom wheels, be prepared to spend some time and effort looking for what you want. Also, do not trust what the vendor website says. First of all, they tell you that they might fit, but they really won't, especially if you have Brembos. The other thing is that they're never going to tell you that you can put a bigger wheel on than what the manufacturer recommends. And you can put a bigger wheel on there, you just have to make sure you get all the settings correct. And one thing you can do to simplify this is if you know somebody that has a set of custom wheels and it's already on their car and it's a similar model to yours, buy them from him. You know what fits. Otherwise, just be prepared to spend some time. Have them send you one wheel. Make sure it fits, because a lot of times they're not going to refund you for everything. There's restocking fees. There's other things that you're going to lose money on if you order all 4 wheels. So buy one, test the fitment all around. If it doesn't work, you may have to pay a little bit of a restocking fee to get that one wheel sent back, but that's still better than having to buy a set of 4 only to find out that they're not going to work. So I hope this helps you guys. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and I will catch you on the next video. There it is. Finished product.